No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait. Wait, 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 wait.
Hey, good morning everyone. It's Friday the 9th. I'm making this video a day after this came out because I really wanted to sleep on the information that was in this dev blog. So if you guys don't know, this dev blog came out. It's labeled Infantry Combat Overhaul, and hoo boy, has it set the squad community on fire, and for a good reason. So we're gonna go through it. You'll hear my comments, and we'll talk about a little bit to the end why this isn't everything. But let's do a few disclaimers to my comp players who are watching this. This is not the end of squad, and just take a deep breath. It is a video game, and things are going to change. Squad was always going to be a game that constantly evolved over time. You know, the alternative is buy another squad 2, buy another squad 3. Now it's sit there and wait and buy some optional emote packs. It really could be worse. Also, we're currently at squad version, I believe we're at 4.3, could be 4.5. Well, I think we can safely assume that with the amount of information that's in here, it's going to be squad 5.0, but I could be wrong, and there may be other updates in between that. So let's go through and find out. So Infantry Combat Overhaul, past, present, and future of combat and squad, where we're coming from. Squad traces its roots back to the esteemed Project Reality mod for Battlefield 2. The mod's immersive and realistic combat mechanics garnered immense praise and dedication following laying the foundation for Squad's creation. Its emphasis on teamwork, communication, and coordination, essentially ingredients to triumph, become the driving force or vision for Squad. From the outset, our aim was to build upon the success of Project Reality, propelling the gameplay experience to unprecedented heights. We understood that the mod's quality stemmed from its demand for collaborative teamwork where victory hinged on players relying on one another to achieve shared objectives. Guys, I just woke up. Please don't judge me. All right. I wanted to get this video out as quick as possible so I could get it into editing. Probably should have made it yesterday, but I really wanted to think and reflect on a lot of the stuff that was said here. Yet Squad's development, we faced inevitable temptation to stray from this original vision. Influenced by prevailing shooter trends and the desire for a broader appeal, we found ourselves at times prioritizing individual skill and instant gratification over the core principles that made Project Reality exceptional. The evolving gaming industry, with its emphasis on fast-paced action and solo play, gradually seeped into Squad's design choices, leading to mechanics and features that favored a more independent playstyle and somewhat diluted the importance of teamwork and coordination. The current state of Infantry Combat Squad presents a mixed picture with both positive and negative aspects. On the positive side, teamwork can still yield rewarding experiences when players effectively coordinate their actions, execute well-planned strategies, and communicate seamlessly. They can achieve remarkable feats on the battlefield. These moments of collective triumph are the core strength of Squad and create lasting memories, highlighting the importance of collaboration. However, there are several notable concerns regarding the combat systems in Squad. One significant hurdle is the tendency towards individualistic gameplay under the current iteration. Instances occur where a lone wolf flanker can single-handedly decimate an entire squad, undermining the emphasis of teamwork and coordination. This individualistic nature detracts from the intended immersive and cooperative experience. Recognizing this drift from its roots, we have decided to take a step towards the rectification and realignment. Our upcoming changes to the infantry combat system signify a renewed focus on fostering an environment that thrives on teamwork, communication, coordination. By acknowledging and addressing these past deviations, we recommit ourselves to delivering an authentic and immersive experience reminiscent of the vision we set out for Squad. So to summarize, they're basically saying through their development they had a goal and they strayed from that goal, and what they want to do is realign themselves to that goal. That's how you know it's the morning. Just waking up. Where we are going, period. Moving forward, our primary goal is to steer Squad's combat system towards a greater emphasis on teamwork and cooperation. We have learned a valuable lesson from our previous work and player feedback, which have highlighted the need to enhance the gameplay experience by fostering a strong sense of camaraderie and strategic decision making. To achieve these goals, we are approaching the changes we want to implement in a deliberate and comprehensive manner. We conducted extensive research, analyzed player behavior, and engaged internal testing to fine-tune our approach. By adopting the see, think, speak, do philosophy, we aim to create combat systems that encourage players to observe the battlefield, analyze the situation, communicate effectively with the squad mates, and take purposeful actions. One key change we are implementing is to create longer firefights and provide more opportunities for tactical choices as a squad. By adjusting the pacing and dynamics of combat, we aim to extend the duration of engagements, allowing players to make informed decisions and employ, various tactics to overcome the situation. This will not only deepen the tactical aspect of squad, but will also generate more memorable war story moments that players can share and reminisce on. Just a quick pause. I like that, but to anyone that's actually played squad, you know how annoying it is when someone like starts to talk about that one time that something happened and you've done it like 1,000 times, you just never told anyone about it. You know what I mean? Okay, I mean, that's cool, but that's all right. In addition, we're striving to make combat more approachable for players of all skill levels. Interesting comment. We understand the importance of creating an inclusive environment where new players can feel useful and contribute to the overall success of squad by providing opportunities for newcomers to engage in suppressive fire or support roles, while experienced players execute flank maneuvers and decisive pushes. We aim to strike balance that promotes both learning and effective teamwork. Quick pause. That is nothing new. That's if you played with me in squad, you know that's not anything new. You're gonna hear my comments as we move on to other changes. You can see it down at the bottom of the screen. It says suppression down there. That's a thing that's gonna change, and you're going to see that. Honestly, it's current. It's pretty much current squad. It's just now I can specifically say, hey, actually suppress that bush. And I am looking for that beautiful quote, and I will mark it. There is something notable in this devlog here. During an internal testing, we have already witnessed significant shifts in player behavior. The changes we have implemented have prompted players to rely more on their squad mates, communicate more frequently and effectively, and strategize collaboratively. We have observed increased coordination and movements and better utilization of cover and suppressive fire, and a greater focus on overall squad's objectives. These changes have led to a more immersive and rewarding gameplay experience, with players actively contributing to the success of their team. In conclusion, our vision for squad's combat system entails a shift towards enhanced teamwork and cooperation, longer and more strategic firefights, and a more approachable design for players. We anticipate that these changes will fundamentally change the way squad is played. The benefits will be far-reaching, fostering stronger player engagement, a more dynamic and memorable moments, and ultimately solidifying squad's position as a premier multiplayer first-person shooter game that thrives on teamwork and strategic thinking. Awesome. That's the intro. To summarize, they basically want to make it more teamwork oriented, and we could rudely surmise this as saying they want to make the gameplay slower. No, that's not. Ow. Sit. I have a cat now. Yes. So they want to essentially just make it more of a thinking man's shooter rather than a run and gun. And I agree with that. Squad has always been an arcade shooter, an authentic military arcade shooter. And I think this is the shift to a milsim. And I hate to say that term and I hate to say that word. But with the first section we're going to talk about, which is suppression, you're going to see why I think that it's going to shift towards a milsim. So specific changes, suppression, work in progress, of course. And we have a great image of one of my, as soon as I saw this, I couldn't handle it. So we see a picture of a guy in a house, a bullet going through the house, a 50 cal of some sort for sure. And we see visual effects happening on both sides. Oh my fucking God. I've been asking for this for years. all I wanted was a visual feedback that bullets are penetrating into houses and stuff like that. Because I want players to know, hey, you know, that 50 cal can go through that house. Maybe that house is not safe. Get down, stay down. And this is incredible. I love that. And it actually, that's what they start out with. So let's get to reading. Goals. Our goals for suppression were to make it a core part of the combat puzzle, give a greater purpose to machine guns, and make it useful to shoot at general locations to enemies without necessarily having a clear view of them. When a fight kicks off and the suppression kicks in, it should be enhanced the feeling of being in a chaotic firefight. So obviously they want to make suppression real suppression. They want it to matter, unlike it does in Squad Now. Complete rework of suppression visual effects. Suppression blurs the distance but keeps the foreground navigable. You can seek cover and return fire or escape. Excellent. By depriving the suppressed players of some of their perception, suppression becomes a meaningful debuff, and instant retaliation is inhibited. Being suppressed will require you to behave as you might in real life. Despite not being in real danger, the enemy will use it to cause trouble for you. But remember, you can do the same to them. So what that tells me is that while you can be shot at and suppressed, you can do the exact same thing to them. This feels like it's just going to be a suppression shootout, and it honestly does not sound fun by just reading that. They say being suppressed will require you to behave as you might in real life. So surprisingly, and some of the devs have heard my opinions on what it is like to be shot at in real life. As a military member who was shot at, not in combat, I might add, in real life, I know what it's like. I know the feeling, I know the sound. It's not about, oh, hey, it's get down and get to cover. And you cannot properly portray that in any video game. No video game has ever done it to my satisfaction without taking control of the player. Because when you're getting shot at, you feel an urge to not get shot, believe it or not, and you get down. Your body, you don't think, oh, hey, I don't want to get shot, I'm going to get down. Your body already does that. Your body's thinking for you and gets down. So unless you're going to make the player go prone, there's no real way to make suppression work. And I've explained this to devs a few times over the years, and I think this is the implementation of that. But we'll just have to see. Let's continue on. There are multiple levels of suppression, with the new VFX kicking in as it becomes more severe. The higher your suppression level, the longer it takes to fade out. Okay, the longer you're in a firefight, the more exposed you are, the longer it's going to take to recover. Makes sense. Various kinds of feedback and effects have also been implemented to make being suppressed feel not just oppressive, but exhilarating. So that's them basically saying, we want to make it fun. We don't want to make it a dumb debuff that nobody likes. It wants to feel like a fun part of the game. Now, here's how I can see this going. Well, let's get to the end and I'll do my overall opinions on this rework. Suppression and aim hindrances. Players' behavior modification under fire, sway, and flinch penalty. So I assume there's going to be more sway, and more flinch. This makes counter suppression more about dumping rounds at the shooter rather than lining up a pinpoint snapshot. So I want to make a quick point here. Gun trucks in the game of Squad have always been a fucking joke. They have always been laughably bad. If you've ever played with me, you know I'm like, oh, it's an open top, I don't care, and you shouldn't either. The reason why is because suppression, anyone with over 200 hours knows how to line up a shot and take out the gunner, and it's not a joke. It's like, oh, okay. Well, now a 50 cal is going to be an issue. So now gun trucks have more of a support role to infantry. And me personally, that's exciting. I like the idea of being able to use things like the GPMG machine gun and the 50 cals that are on open top gun trucks as a suppressive in a non-combat role. While yes, if you see a target to pop, go ahead and pop. But they're more about suppressing the shooter, and I am excited for that aspect. Suppression is now applied in a more systematic way, so it should only occur in situations where one would realistically expect to be suppressed. So what I think this is saying, and I could be completely wrong here, but it sounds like they're saying if you're out in the open, you're more susceptible to being suppressed. Or if you're tight on a wall, if you're near a crouch coverable area, you should not get suppressed as much. So maybe they have zones of suppression. What could be wrong there? Per weapon suppression power. So I talked about the 50 cal and the GPMGs. Machine guns don't just suppress anymore. They do so faster, and the suppression will persist for longer. The heavier weapon, the more severely it can suppress you. This also applies to vehicle-mounted HMGs and autocannons, which makes it even light vehicles to terrorize entrenched or hidden infantry. Explosions now cause suppression in an area. Grenades, mortars, artillery, autocannons, HE frag. Players in protected turrets and emplacements are less susceptible to suppression resistance. Improved bullet penetration, exit VFX, so you understand when lead is coming through the walls and have better readability of the situation. Don't forget your eye. So to sum that up, it's basically saying the bigger caliber, the more suppression it will do faster and suppress you longer. And I, again, going back, I love this because if you play the GB faction, the British faction and squad, the machine gunner has what is essentially a 249 or a 240 Gulf without an optic on it. And a lot of people are saying, oh, why do they do that? Well, the reason why they do that is because it's authentic to real life. Why do they do that in real life? Is because the GPMG is a suppression machine. It's to suppress and outmaneuver and flank the enemy. That is what they do in real life. The Marine Corps and the Army the U.S. military has a different goal with their machine gun teams. While yes, they can suppress, machine guns, believe it or not, their point target distance is way further out than your standard infantry rifle. Bigger cartridge, but also concentration of fire. So it has the ability to area saturate, but you also have the ability to use it as a designated marksman rifle. You don't have that ability in the British Armed Forces because they don't have an optic. But this is exciting because now it gives that kit a specific role. So now I don't really have to tell my British machine gunner, hey, you're a suppression machine. They should already know that because it doesn't have an optic and they don't see too well. So just something to keep in mind and something to definitely be excited for. Overall, they snuck in some changes I really like, especially with this visual effects. We can see a picture of it here. And it's exciting to me as a squad leader because now I can take squad to the next level of thinking and skillful counters. Squad has always been relatively fast paced, and the countering game, in my opinion, has always been about the other players. So what I think about is what other squad leaders are thinking, what they're doing, where they're moving. Now it's going to focus more onto how do I win this fight? What do I want to have as backup? And believe it or not, and this is, dare I say, I think this is where marksman actually has a role. I think this is the revenge of marksman. Now, marksman still will never be a new player role, but think about this. So we have a marksman kit who can sit down, be bipoded, not have the sway and suppression, maybe have a darkened screen, but they can take out the person that is suppressing them with a bipod. So now you might say it's more, oh, now it's the revenge of the bipod. Yes, but marksmans are going to have use here. They're going to be a counter suppression unit. And that's exciting. I've definitely been a proponent of the no marksman plan, but it's only been because they don't have usability beyond just being able to take a shot and hopefully kill someone a little better. I've much more preferred the ammo bag than the marksman kit, but now they actually have a role. So we'll have to see in the coming days, weeks, however long it takes to get this update out, how exactly it is. And as I read this next section, you'll kind of understand why I think that, because I think I kind of jumped the gun, so to speak. Gunplay goals. To facilitate longer shootouts, we need to reduce the odds of them ending in 1 or 2 shots. From there, a sudden encounter can grow into a full-on firefight as the rest of the squad joins in. Suppressing fire is laid down, maneuvers are planned and executed, and reinforcements are called up. Overall, you should have the time to call out and contact the enemy, analyze the situation, coordinate with your squad, and execute a plan together. Every weapon is being reworked to have a defined role with strengths and weaknesses which need to be covered and complemented by your squad mates. We aim to add depth while making it easier for new players to be useful and live longer. We also want to make guns feel more satisfying to shoot, even if they're not always unconditionally accurate as before. It should be fun to shoot a gun in an empty room. Interesting comment. I mean, in an empty room, yeah. So what that tells me is they want to do some recoil, add a little bassier sound. So get ready, AK sound changing, calling it now. Features: rework traditional hip fire into point shooting. Yes, so the weapon moves with your camera and a cone of motion as you look around. This emulates the experience of using hand-eye coordination to aim without looking down the sights. This is primarily meant to increase non-ADS reaction time without resorting to traditional bullet spread mechanics, but perhaps more importantly, we just think it looks and feels cool. What I believe this is if you go play a game called Insurgency Sandstorm for PC, it has that point shooting with a cone of motion. I think it does look cool. I think it will be cool. I think one of the downsides this comes with is, while it was hip fire before and point shooting did work before, when you hip fired in squad in the current build, it's much more like a cone of fire than an actual accuracy. But as I read, you'll see why I think this is going to be an improvement to hip firing accuracy than a detriment to it. Recoil has been modified and made more sophisticated. Okay. Recoil has been tuned to make full auto more situational and create a realistic trade-off when using different kinds of weapons. It is still possible to be very accurate, but you need to be smart about it. And remember what kind of weapon you're using and learn your guns. Okay. Added recoil misalignment. Recoil now causes the weapon to rotate in more axes and can be thought of as an additional dimension of recoil. This misaligns the sights and creates a natural cone of fire shot pattern. This has particularly significant impact on machine guns, emulated the quote-unquote beaten zone, which I think is an area target, is what the US military calls it, which is basically the area in which a machine gun or machine gun's team suppress or keep the heads of the enemies down. So area target. Where was I? Yes. The real machine gun theory necessary for them to be employed in squad as they are in real life. Generally speaking, muzzle climb is controllable, but the recoil misalignment is not. Even the most skilled shooter can only counter recoil to a certain point. This also affects accuracies of follow-up shots, so there's a situational trade-off between slow, accurate fire and less accurate, high-volume fire. Makes sense. So essentially now with a recoil pattern and an exhaustion pattern, we're also going to have weapon optic alignment pattern to deal with. Okay, I don't personally like that. See, a lot of the thing, and you guys are gonna probably have the same opinions. You know, you get good at a game, and for it to just completely change, it's scary. And I'm scared, and this doesn't sound fun. It sounds like I'm gonna have to relearn how to shoot in this game. And I don't like that. For someone that's been playing for over 3,000 hours, it feels... it's scary. That's what it is. So I sympathize with you guys there. Sway has been reworked from the ground up. Increased initial target acquisition time, particularly when running and gunning, but fades out quickly enough that you can still post up and make accurate long shots. So that just means that you're not going to be able to run stop snapshot. Added a new dimension to sway. Added a second layer of sway. Now rotates the weapon misalignment sights, similar to recoil mismanagement. Sway now also offsets the weapon laterally and vertically. Together, when used conservatively, these changes help sway feel much more like the product of a soldier holding a weapon in two hands, and can help us achieve our goals for accuracy mitigation without making any one component feel excessive. So I guess we'll see about that aspect to dimensional sway, because the thing is that like when you have a weapon that's shouldered, right? Your point of access is it's in your shoulder, and you're pulling it back into your shoulder, and you're holding it, and the sway is going to be in a circle. It's not going to be in and out. So, you say there's a dimension to sway. Well, I mean, we have the up, down, left, right. You can add forward and back. Is the guy holding it out here like this without it being in his shoulder? That doesn't make too much sense to me. But again, we will see as we test it. As before, the amount of sway is driven by stamina, movement, and stance. Okay, to help better understand the sway mechanics, a small indicator was added to the compass, taking inspiration from Project Reality. I don't know what that actually refers to. If you guys know what that refers to, definitely let me know down below. I assume there's an indicator that says the amount of sway that you might encounter at your current stance and stamina. I don't know, just shot in the dark. Setting your aim no longer applies instantly. The accuracy benefits of holding your breath now fades in over a couple of seconds. You must be more patient when lining up shots on targets of opportunity, or you could fire a burst immediately in hopes of fixing them in place with suppression until your teammates can get involved. Low-key, don't know why. I kind of like this. It's definitely a change for sure, but I like this because it benefits a team that is not just sprinting in, but a team that's maneuvering. And you guys will learn that this is pretty much all to try to encompass that. Per stance, aim down sight time. Your character will line up shots faster when crouched and fastest when prone or bipoded. Okay, makes sense. Kind of. Actually, now that I think about it right now, right this second, when I have a rifle shouldered as a U.S. Marine, as a military member, one of the specialties, I don't even know if you could call it a specialty, a normal standard skill for anyone that shoots a weapon is being able to shoulder it and literally just pull it up with one hand, not even two hands, just one, to get it. You know exactly where your cheek goes, you know exactly where your eye box is. So I don't know if I agree with that one. That seems a little off to me. Bullets will now go exactly where your gun is pointing in all circumstances. I like this one. This means that bullets come out of the muzzle. Shocker, I know, but this should be some good stuff. This has allowed us to fully embrace the animation-driven sway and recoil system. The effects are particularly noticeable during animation transitions, such as when shooting after sprinting. Watch your muzzle discipline. I can see some funny situations in which we're sprinting with our weapon, and maybe we pull it out to shoot, and we shoot someone in the leg, and that would be fun. I like that. The bullet impact is also more accurately represented in optics when animations are affecting the point of aim. So this is an interesting little comment. So what I think this is saying, and I could be wrong here, again, this is all speculation, is that we will see a proper ballistics model. So if you guys play Squad, one of the issues with Squad is the bullet kind of just goes out straight and then drops down. Okay, that's fine. Well, that's not how a bullet works in real life with real life military optics. A bullet goes up as a parabola and then it goes down. So for example, the 5 meter and 50 meter mark on a weapon are 2 points in which it hits the same plane. So a bullet, as I use my hand, it goes up at 5 meters and it goes down at 50 meters. And while that's not that much, that's to get a weapon a longer range. And those obviously change depending on how you set your sight and what your optic is for. But that's exactly why if you look at the ACOG, the RCO, the Marine Corps 4X optic, you'll notice that the crotch of the chevron is 100, and then 200 is at the top, and then 300 is the tip of the stadia line. The reason why is because the bullet goes up and then down. Hey, look, I taught you something. Look and feel. Improved muzzle gas, visual effects. Okay. Improved screen shake when firing. Everybody hated that. Improve recoil and settling motions. Okay. More realistic movement of weapons in sway and recoil. See above. Inspired by helmet cam footage and experiences of our developers and many being active or former military service members. So realistic movement of weapons in sway and recoil. I'd like to see what they're talking about. More natural looking movement of weapons on bipods. This makes bipod weapons feel and play less like turrets. Okay, that's kind of exciting to hear. Added more animation and wobbles from various gameplay events such as changing stance, leaning, and going ADS. Adjusted camera position when ADSing in a way which better shows the weapon firing, visual effects, and animation. Ooh, I like that. Scopes. Oh, actually, let me just recap. So we just talked about gunplay. They're basically going to make the weapons look and feel like weapons. I kind of disagree with some of the steadying and sways and stuff like that, but again, it's reading text off a dev blog. It's not something I can test and play. When I can test and play, I can give better opinions on how I feel and how it relates to what is authentic, but we just gotta have a little faith. That's all. Scopes is our next section. Goals. We aim to add trade-offs to magnified optics, so there are benefits to having a mix of different weapon configurations in your squad, and to set the standard for video game representations of scopes in 2020s. It should feel like you are looking through an optic, not a camera. Okay, fair. Picture-in-picture scopes. That's PIP for people that don't know. There's a perfect image of it right here. You'll notice that the blurred foreground is not magnified, but if you look in, this is magnified. That's what picture-in-picture scopes are in-game. Again, if you go to Insurgency Sandstorm, they have picture-in-picture scopes. And I want to say this right now, in most games, all of them, in fact, picture-in-picture has a detriment to the player, the player's performance. Now, we're going to read something in here, and I'm going to comment on it, but just keep that in mind. These render the scene from a separate camera and project it into the lens. Besides looking far better, this approach allows us to accurately emulate the advantages and trade-offs of using magnified optics. We have aspired to achieve nothing less than the best implementation of scopes ever put in a video game. Ever put in a video game. Okay, all right, OWI, calm down. The behavior of these optics is a one-to-one emulation of how real optics work. They are affected by every movement of the gun and camera. Makes sense. Many visual details have been added to make it feel like you're looking through a lens, including scratches, scuffs, refraction, and color shifting. Rest in peace to my MRO fans. I don't believe the MRO is in squad, but just look up the MRO. Actually, it might be the SRO. Either way, had an amber sight, looked disgusting. Reworked mouse sensitivity when using magnified optics for much easier fine adjustments, and added more granular control options for players to customize. See soldier sensitivity scaling in game options. Reworked mouse sensitivity when using magnified optics for much easier fine aim adjustments, added more granular control options for players to customize. Yeah, I'm not really sure on that one. I mean, if you've ever seen my controls, I definitely use global sensitivity, or I don't use global sensitivity. I turn that off, and I decrease the sensitivity when I'm ADSing. And then I also use mouse smoothing. Thanks to advancement in technology and a few sacrifices to the sphere. Ooh, here it goes. The reworked scope run as smoothly as the old scopes. The new scopes also solve a host of bugs and issues associated with the legacy implementation. So let me get this straight, OWI, and I'm talking directly to you guys right now. You're telling me that in a game in which we can barely squeak out 100 frames constant on a powerful PC, you're telling me that not only do these new picture-in-picture scopes, which historically for literally every other company in game causes a decrease in performance, you got it to run at an equal performance level as the old scopes, and not only that, it's going to fix some of your bugs in the game. That is a bold claim, if I do say so myself, and I will be the first one to call you out when it does not run as well. And if it does, I'll make an apology video. We will kiss some photos, all right? But I do not believe this for a second. And I think you'd be high to think for a second that you could get that to do that. It's not saying that I don't believe you guys. I'm just saying historically, your implementations of things have not exactly been the best to the player performance and FPS wise. So I kind of doubt that, man. Kind of doubt it. Moving on, thanks to picture-in-picture scope emulate the real-life challenges of magnified optics, there are some trade-offs for the user. Yeah, thanks. The new scopes generally have more zoom than the old scopes, so we see an increase in our zoom level, but more of your field of view is occluded by the scope. Okay, so while using your peripheral vision is expanded, the target area is harder to scan. Excuse me. This is just like looking for a specific object in the distance through a pair of binoculars. The scope is therefore a pinhole view, peering into a further engagement range. Peripheral vision is blurred while looking through scopes. Awesome. Scopes are not affected by suppression blur, but sway is a bigger problem. Again, going back to that marksman is now a counter suppression role. Start to think about that. Keep that in mind as I read these. Scopes will suffer much more in close quarters, rely on point firing, or ideally move with a buddy who has close quarter oriented sights. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna get good at point firing. There will never be an option where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather have that red dot. No. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do not see myself being like, yeah, give me that lesser magnified optic. Scopes take longer to aim down sight and are more severely affected by eye relief issues when aiming with heavy sway. Okay, trade-offs between different optics and options. Scopes have an advantage at range, but suffer at close quarters. Reflector sights and holographic sights excel at close quarter battle and have the shortest aim down sight time, but cannot be adjusted for range. A lot of these holographic sights, especially the US one, the literal EOTech hollows have range points on them, so that's really not that big of a deal. And especially with this game, I mean, the bullets fly straight for a good bit, so unless you're aiming 300 plus, I don't see that being an issue. To all my red dot fans, iron sights are the middle ground option, and they are effective in close quarters, and the sights can be adjusted for engaging distant targets. If the game is as slow as I think it's going to be, and I have to actually call out the range for infantry instead of just blasting them and hoping someone else gets them, seems like a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do that. Character movement. Oh, well, let me surmise what's going on. So picture-in-picture scopes, once again, work in progress, just like everything else here. And they want to make scopes feel more realistic. Can't say no to that. Cannot say I dislike that. I think it's going to be cool, and I just hope it's not as intrusive as I feel it's going to be. Again, a lot of this is going to be huge changes to how squad is usually played, and this is just another step. This is just another piece of the puzzle of slowing the game the fuck down. And the way we do that is sprint less and communicate more, I guess. I feel like that's the overarching goal there. I do like how they're saying there's trade-offs between different optics. They've tried to do this before. They said that is a thing before, and now there might be an actual reason, but honestly, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Character movement is our next section. Goals. It is necessary to slow down engagements and the overall pace of the game. The entire community is on fire for that quote. And another one. This will give players time to see, think, speak, do, encourage the use of vehicle transportation, and create counter play to rush tactics. Ooh. While speed and aggression have a place in squad as they do in real life, they should not be more effective than communication and coordination. Choke points and barriers should be meaningful obstacles which require adapting your defensive and offensive tactics. Assaulting a high-walled Afghan compound, for example, will soon be a completely different experience. Alright, so I think they're definitely going for an authentic approach to combat. Video game. Again, Milsim. Features. Pacing and stamina adjustment. Character movement speed has been reduced. The faster movement introduced in late squad's early access period was intended to help players get into combat faster. In hindsight, we concluded that it actually made the game more unforgiving and contributed to even more running around by encouraging a spawn, run, die, repeat cycle. I think that's every game, to be honest. Slightly slower movement creates more time to react, coordinate in combat. Taking regular stamina breaks is now advisable, especially with the weapon sway changes. This creates opportunities to regroup and get oriented. In internal testing, we have found movement speed changes to make it easier to keep squads together, lead to more intense or interesting fights, and significantly reduce the cognitive load on the squad leader. Okay, so I want to hit this point specifically before we move on. A lot of people are questioning how this is going to reduce the cognitive load on the squad leader. And I struggled with it for a little bit, but I think I figured it out. What they're essentially saying is that because you don't have to think so fast and come up with a plan on the spot of whatever's going on because the game is so fast, it's not a rush. It's not stressful. But what I see this as is because the game is slower, I have more time to think. That's not cutting my cognitive load. It's just slowing it down and in fact giving more cognitive things to think about, which isn't a bad thing, but it feels like it's not. It does feel like it's gonna reduce it. It just feels like it's gonna give me more time to think about more things. Is that reducing the cognitive load? I guess to some people. Another aspect, because this was kind of a long point, taking regular stamina breaks is now advisable. So now I don't think your standard play of movement is not going to be the sprint until stamina runs out. It's going to be walking around. You want to keep that stamina. Stamina is actually going to matter. And that's good. It's good. You know, stamina has always been a useless thing in squad to me. Stamina really only affects people that are under 200 hours, and as soon as you learn the recoil pattern or the sway pattern, it's really easy to overcome, so it's never been an issue. Now they're saying, hey, we want to make it a thing in the game. Cool. Can't say no to adding a feature or making a existing element of the game more effective. Stamina regen was slowed down slightly. Stamina costs for various actions were rebalanced. Okay. I'd like to know a little bit more about that personally, but traversal. Ooh, this is a little painful for me. You can no longer climb or vault while in midair. Oh, pain. This significantly affects which rooftops and ledges are accessible, making it much easier to think tactically about locking down lanes and access points, since there are fewer possible approaches, especially in urban combat. This also encourages the use of teamwork-oriented buddy boost abilities. Basically, no more rooftop ninjas is what that is, and I kind of don't like that. I kind of, you know, they really want a boots on the ground approach, and you know, I kind of like Squad because it wasn't a serious, authentic, military, try-hard milsim. It was an arcade shooter with some authentic aspects and a great community and some cool devs. And now it just feels like it's getting pushed to the point where it's like, man, you know, we want you to play like an actual military member. And as an actual military member, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do what I did in the military. That's not fun to me. That, you know, if I wanted to do that, I'd go play Arma. You know, I'd sit in a mission briefing for 4 hours, fill sandbags, only get yelled at, and sit in the 120-degree hot sun without sunscreen, and just fucking, you know, maybe go home at the end of the night. But you know what I mean? So it's scary. It's scary to think about. This is all just piling on. Prevents lone wolves from negating environmental obstacles to get easy flanks or overcome fob fortifications, or removes ninja moves from the list of options to win a fight. One of the reasons why I love the ability to climb is it adds another plane of possible combat areas. It's not just left, right. Now you have left, right, up and down in a city environment, and being able to vault and climb made combat like that doable. One of the benefits I see of this is that you won't have people who do that lay down, bipod, die, and you can't get them to revive. So, you know, this might make city combat better. Just no more cool jumps and climbs and skillful shit like that. Shame. Vault and climb heights were adjusted. Reworked fall damage to be more punishing, but also more consistent and predictable. Fall damage is now applied as a percentage of remaining health based on height of the fall, down to a minimum value. The effect is you can no longer survive multi-story drops at full health, but you should always be able to predict whether a fall could kill you before the risk of drop. So another unintended thing, or probably very intended, is no more dropping off a roof to grab a climb at the last second and survive. Honestly, I love that aspect about Squad. It was a skillful thing to do, and it was calculated, and if you could do it right, it was cool. It was fun. It was fun to do. Can't do that no more. Sadness. Reworked learning to create, reworked leaning to create less gamey feeling close quarters encounters and solve the lean spam exploit. Additionally, leaning is inhibited when using some heavy weapons. Makes sense. Various small tweaks to make the game feel both simultaneously more fluid and more grounded in reality. So, no more Q&E spam. Cool. I mean, I abused it from here and there. I really wouldn't call it abused it. I made fun of it unironically. That became very ironic in the end. But you know, overall, these character movement changes, I think if we cut anything out, I like those changes. The slower movement speed is definitely something I'm not exactly privy to, but I hope a sprint feels like a sprint. That is what I hope. I think regardless of speed, even if they decrease the movement speed, we're going to want to play in conservation of stamina in the first place, so that alone is going to slow down the gameplay. While you could sprint, you'd be at a huge disadvantage if you made it to the fight first. So it's very much going to be, no, let's not run from this point to this point. It's going to be, you know, if it's going to be a fanned out, exploratory, calculated movement with proper spacing through a forest environment. And again, this is, I keep saying milsim. This is trying to simulate a military environment. Now it is. Now, before Squad was never a milsim. It was a authentic first-person military shooter. Now, it's genuinely trying to simulate what it's like to be in military combat. In a way, mostly I think it's the suppression, the movement. We'll see. But again, guys, take everything with a grain of salt. I would assume this is coming out in 5.0. I guess that because, well, all the large updates and the big revamps come out in main release windows. What I can also say is that there are other things that should be coming out either first or at the same time that are a little bit more exciting and pretty groundbreaking. There's some pretty unique shit that is coming out, and I thought it would be coming out soon, but with what this next paragraph says, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting for sure, because I honestly have no clue when any of this is coming out. Experience the infantry combat rework in our upcoming playtest. Revamping Squad's infantry combat systems is the first step in broadening our broader initiative to align gameplay systems with the goals of our original vision for the game. We understand that achieving a truly immersive and cooperative experience requires a holistic approach addressing various aspects of the game while focusing on the revamp of infantry combat is crucial. We are committed to thoroughly improving and refining other gameplay systems to ensure they complement the realignment of the game's direction. We recognize the importance of not rushing the release of these changes, and our top priority is to provide the best possible experience for our community. That's why we are dedicated to conducting extensive public testing and active gathering feedback from players. This approach allows us to fine-tune the revamped infantry combat systems based on real-world gameplay experiences and ensure that we have the buy-in and support of our community. They're not throwing us to the wayside. Squad, I probably already said it in the video, but Squad has always been, ever since I've been deeply ingrained in its community, I'd say that was around V13, or Alpha 13 is what I should say. They've always kind of had their own way of doing things, and it's always been like, well, this is going to piss a lot of people off, but we want to do it because it's our game. And as soon as you understand that, you can get more on board. Now, they're saying that they want to have the buy-in and support of the community. That's awesome. They're definitely not throwing the community to the wayside. And whether you like it or not, comp guys, cover your ears. the competitive experience is a very tiny and small aspect of the overall squad community. And I've been saying it for years. You guys are special, but you're not that big part of the community. You're just the loudest part. And you know what? Downvote if you got to, but it's the truth. This commitment to comprehensive testing and community involvement guarantees that the changes we implement to the infantry combat system will resonate with players and align with their expectations. Our goal is to deliver a polished and refined experience that not only meets our goals, but exceeds the expectations of our community. We'll be running a series of play tests to thoroughly test the changes and actively involve the community in the process. We can make well-informed decisions about the overall realignment of squad's gameplay. We highly value the input of our dedicated player base and want to ensure that the voices are heard throughout the development process. Stay tuned for the announcement date of our very first play test very soon. Awesome, right? Overall, it's exciting changes, but it definitely makes me nervous. And what that end paragraph basically says is we do care about your opinion. One thing that I noticed that's missing is the word fun in there, and I think fun should be at the forefront of making a video game. Obviously, it needs to be authentic and, you know, this, that, and yada yada, but keep in mind that some aspects are not going to be fun, and I almost feel like the proper approach to this update in general is going to be a multi-pronged approach. Like, don't dump this on us all at once. Allow us to ease into these changes. So honestly, releasing these in segments is probably the better option. But on the flip side, releasing these all at once just to dump it on people is another option. And that might be the ideal solution. I don't know. It's definitely up to the devs. But if you guys are going to play in these playtests whenever they come out, make sure that you guys go to the official squad website, which is I'm at now, and make your feedback in the forums. Why do I say do that instead of Discord? Trust me, if you want your voice heard and you have opinions, yes, go to the website, go to the forums, and make your comments there. They're all about the forums. Discord is just a small aspect, and I don't even use the forums. So, my opinion, probably not even heard. But that's it, guys. Let me know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree. I tried to make this as painless as possible, but it was kind of painful for me as well as I read through this. And you know, let me know what you guys think. Definitely, if you liked what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. I love it. I'm streaming. Today is Friday. I'll be streaming on Friday, like I do every Friday, playing some delicious squads, and you know, we'll try to talk about your comments then. But to those of you guys that made it to the end, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys for the next squad update. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your guys' day.